hire, what kind of materials they want to employ, and what kind of markets they want to serve. So this kind of free market economy has its roots, at least from the idea point of view, from this what they call the Friedman Doctrine. This article written by Milton Friedman. So Milton Friedman was one of the most important economists and economic thinker in the 20th century. So one of the most influential economic thinker in the last century. Now, he published an article in New York Times in 1970. Time here. Let me show the pointer. So it's in 1970, September 13. So what did he advocate? What did he advocate by then? So I have highlighted these terms. So let me read it out for you in case you can't see it. What does it mean to say that business has responsibilities? Now, only people can have responsibilities. Now, because even before 1970, the idea that the corporate should have their social responsibility. So when it comes to the idea of corporate social responsibility, it's not something new. It has been there even before you were born. You were given birth. So that means even before this 1970, people talk social responsibilities, but Friedman says no. No business has responsibility because only people have responsibility. And the only responsibility for business is to make profits. Because by having the only goal of making profit, then you serve the good for the society. The idea is very simple. If you are profit maximizing minded, being a corporate leader, which means what? You are trying to make your productions the more efficient way. So you are trying to hire workers at their best. You are trying to engage with the suppliers of the materials at their best. All right. And you are trying to make the products as best as possible so that you can sell the product. All right. Which means the workers, the employees will strive for their best so that they can be hired, they can be paid better by striking, being the best, one of the best in the labor market. So that means you're trying to make yourself better in terms of your skills, in terms of your competency, as well as for the suppliers, right? Being able to engage in that contract so they will strive their best as well. So you see that by purely focusing on profits, everyone is trying their best. By trying everyone's best, it actually makes the society better, right? So we are able to get a better job. We are able to have a better income. That's how a society is supposed to work. So that's the idea of Milton Friedman, a free market manifesto. And that very short, simple article basically has changed the way that corporates think about themselves since 1970. So I put a title here, Free Market Manifesto that changed the business world in 1970. So since then, it becomes what we call shareholder capitalism, a market that trying to maximize the return for the shareholder. What do you mean by that? If you are running your business by yourself, being a sole proprietor or private limited company, so you are the owner of the company. At the same time, you are the business executive for the company. So whatever you are doing as a business executive, you are trying to maximize the return to yourself as a shareholder, right? As a company holder. Even if you are a publicly listed companies, so those business executive, because it is the shareholder who come up with the money, who helped, the money, the fund, the capital will help the companies running. So the business executive, therefore, they have the responsibility, and it is their sole responsibility to make the business in such a way that it will maximize the reward to the shareholders, which are the company's owner. So that's what we call shareholder capitalism by then. All right, like I said here, maximizing shareholders' value is entrenched in every aspect of business. All right. Now, then when we say it is entrenched in every aspect of business, that means what? That means when you come to the thinking about, let's say, performance measurement, even in university, you do have your KPI assessment. So why do we need KPI assessment? Why do we need a kind of performance measurement, even though we declare ourselves as non-profit organization? Because we do have business, we do have owners of this entity. The owners can be, of course, the council. The owners can be the one who spend, who donate to the university, who spend their capital or money on the university to make the university functionable. So therefore, you have to respond to them. And in order to respond to them, then people start with an idea that you must be good enough to stay here, right? So that idea is actually shareholders' value maximization idea, even for a non-profit organization. So that kind of mindset has already been entrenched. That means embedded into the thinking. You talk about executive compensation. If you are better in your performance, then you get better paid. If you perform not that good, then you get rewarded lesser. Again, what is the idea? Remember at the beginning of our conversation. So I say that kind of shareholder value maximization economy is in such a way that by maximizing profit, that means I have to like hire the best workers. I have to engage with the best suppliers. So you have to be the best. If you're not the best, then you are second rated. So then your reward will be at a second level, so on and so forth. So again, that kind of idea has also been embedded in employees' compensation, executive compensation, so on and so forth. You talk about the shareholders' value. You talk about what's the role of directors. So all these different dimensions of a corporate has been related to the shareholders' value maximization. Now, here comes the problems of this shareholders' profit maximization. So for the first two slides, when we lay out the idea of what has been popular and has been the tradition, has been the norm since 1970s, all the way until at least a few years back, even today, it has its drawbacks. So what are the problems? Now you look at this very simple equation, right? So even you don't look at the equation, you just imagine, how do you calculate profit? Whether you're an accounting student, business student, marketing student, you should have that kind of basic accounting idea. How do you calculate profit? It must be how much you are able to sell your products at what prices. That means how much revenue you can generate, minus out all the expenses you have incurred in this business. Then the difference will be your profit. Am I right? So in this simple equation, that means it depends on the sales. It depends on the cost. If you are able to generate more sales by charging higher prices, for example, then you are able to generate more revenue and therefore more profit. Or if you are able to squeeze your cost, then either it is a cost paid to your workers or cost paid to the suppliers, then you are able to generate more profit. So that seems to be the truth, right? The accounting truth, which means if you are solely focusing on maximizing profit, and there are only two ways you can do that. One, you squeeze backward, which means what? You squeeze your labels, try to pay as low as salaries as you can, try to minimize, reduce the compensation to the benefits to your employees, to workers as much as you can, slash their bargaining power so that they don't have any bargaining power with the boss as much as you can, squeeze the contract extracting the value from the contract with the supplier as much as you can so that you pay the minimum to the suppliers. Am I right? Pollute the environment as much as you can, because because polluting environment is basically free. You don't need to compensate the environment. Hey, Mr. Environment, so I pollute you, so now I pay you. No, you don't do that, right? So that means it is free, zero cost. So then firms always will be tempted to pollute the environment as much as they can. That's the way they can minimize the cost. Or when it comes to revenue, I put a word here, deceiving forward. You deceive the customers, right? So that they are willing to charge higher prices, so that it becomes, blurred enough, stupid enough to say, oh, this is really very good, and they are willing to pay higher prices. As a matter of fact, they are not. Those are not the good products that deserve that kind of money. But somehow you are able to deceive them, then you're able to maximize the profit. So, and therefore, a lot of things that we observe today, a lot of problems that people argue for to have this ESG is exactly because of the problems that we lay out here. We start to observe that instead of having this long-term contract with the employees, workers, then you start to talk a lot about short-term contract or gig workers, upon a very good name. What is the name? To make the labor market more flexible, so that firms are able to hire and fire the workers more easily. Then firms have more flexibility. They are more able to adjust, so they can be more efficient, and therefore they can maximize the shareholders' value. But the consequence. The consequence means the benefit of the shareholders are taken care at the expense of the benefit to the workers. Being a long-term worker, that means you won't be worried about losing your job. But being a short-term worker, being a contract worker for 1 year, 2 years, which has to be reviewed every year or every 2 years, that means you always will have that kind of anxiety, because you don't know anytime then you can be just dismissed. Is that possible? That's possible, right? Because after, let's say, a contract, 2-year contract being renewed 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, that means after 4 years, 6 years, then you have new batch of students graduating from the school. They are still young, fresh, their pay are cheaper, and yet they can just do the job that you're doing. And you can just, when the contract ended, then can just say that bye-bye, without any compensation. Then the company can just shift to the younger batch of students, and things happen, cycles take place. And so you start to see that every good things that we talk about, the economy, the progress that we have, the development that we have, cannot be enjoyed by the ordinary people. All right. So therefore you start to see a lot of striking back from the workers through politics to the society, to the economy. And then you talk about the environment as well. Mr. Environment cannot scream, cannot say that you pollute me without compensating me. Mr. Environment cannot scream, but Mr. Environment will strike back, by giving you more extreme weathers, by giving you more frequent flash floods, by giving you a bad air environment, air quality. So the environment strikes back. Even the by the time when the shareholder value maximization, the shareholder capitalism was so popular in 1970s, 80s, 90s, not everyone agreed on that. All right. So Jack Welch, for example, this Jack Welch is the legendary CEO. If you are from the business management world, you probably should have heard his name, even though he was such an old story already. He was the legendary CEO for GE, General Electric, one of the oldest companies in the United States, which has been kind of diminished already in recent days. But this Welch, look at what he said. Shareholder value is a result, not a strategy. Your main constituencies are your employees, your customers, and your products. Shareholder values are not supposed to be the goal. They are not supposed to be your aim, your strategy. They're supposed to be the result of something else. If at the very beginning you are taking care of your employees, you maintain a good working relationships with employees, taking care of their benefits, and then an employee will stick with you. They will be loyal to the companies. Because at the end, what a worker needs, what an employee needs is a happy, rewarding working environment. That's what they probably will think of and want to have. And so once you have a happy worker, then the rest will come, because that happy worker will serve the customers better, and he or she will take the company as his or her own companies, and then a satisfied customers, because of these happy employees, will become your repeated customers, right? And it becomes then the customers, the existing customers will become your ambassador, to help to spread the good news about your products. Same goes to the case for suppliers, your contractor suppliers. So just by focusing on them, doing good on them and to them, then your business will come, your profits will come, and the shareholders' value will be maximized naturally, by default, automatically. So that's the idea against the shareholders' values that you can heard of. Bauer and Payne, for example, Joseph Bauer and Lynn Payne said this. They are both academicians. They are not businessmen. They are from legal discipline. It is flawed in its assumption, confused as a matter of law, and damaging in practice, a pernicious nonsense. So they think that this shareholders' value maximization idea is a dumb idea, stupid idea. It's a nonsense. Now, and for people start to think something new, all right? And of course, today's world is not 1970s world. And we have a lot of problems not being faced in 1970s. It can be because of that shareholders' capitalism. It may not be the outcome of that, but these are certainly the questions that we heard a lot and we are facing a lot today. You talk about climate change. Climate change is a global environment, global phenomenon, but sometimes you can have a local pollution. It's not a global one, but a local pollution. Then you talk about fair trade. Fair trade was more of what I call a fancy topic since 1990s. How to make sure that throughout the whole value chains, every single value chains participating in the business, in the trade, can be treated fairly. Because we used to say that those at the downstream, those big companies, they tend to squeeze those farmers. The middlemen, the wholesalers, they tend to squeeze those at the upstreams of the value chain, those farmers, those who are far away from the market. So in that sense, trades always are not fair. So we talk about fair trade. We talk about energy usage, how to make sure that we are efficient in energy consumption to minimize the pollution that we can bring to the society, to the economy. You talk about CO pay ratio, because this CO pay ratio has been widening since 1980s. In the past, in the States, the ratio probably is between 15 to 1. So that means an average employees that he or she can earn, so the CEO probably will earn 15 times more. But in today's world, it can be more than hundreds times extra. So, and that kind of very unequal compensation, therefore becomes an issue. When you talk about inequality in income, in wealth, again, it has been a very popular concerning issues before the pandemic. Now, talk about workplace hazard. It talks about gender inequality, board diversity, I know all this kind of stuff. In the animal cruelty. So those are the stories that people will claim that they are the results of solely paying focus on maximizing profits. Because like I say, if you want to maximize profits, of course you don't care about workplace hazard. Why do you want to prepare a conducive working environment while they are costly? They are cost to the business. So you just prepare minimum working environment. As long as you make sure that they don't die during the working hours, then that's it. But you know that could bring a long-term damage to the workers staying there for 7-8 hours per day for their life, for their whole life. So and that has become the questions now, and not just about exactly because of those questions, right, that we just listed in previous slides, that we heard, we listen, we observe, even by ourselves, then people start to have awareness. When I say people, I means customers, I means clients. Because imagine that for the whole value chain of productions, the companies at the downstream doing the productions, they may be able to squeeze the farmers. They may close their eyes toward the sufferers of the farmers, right? Because farmers to them are cost. But they won't be able to shut their eyes, to be blinded, to be, on what the market demands, what the clients prefer. Because clients, customers, they are their bread and butter. Right? They are the customers to be served. They are the king to the companies. So social awareness, therefore, among the clients, among the customers, among the consumers, most of the time are the catalyst to change the world, right? To change the way that we run business, to change the way that we run the society. Now, you don't need to go through this equation, but you imagine that the U here stands for what? Consumer satisfaction, the perceived value. Because every time when we spend as a consumer, you spend that money because you want to get something, am I right? You want to get a product or get a service. But when you get that product and service, most of the time, you like or dislike that product. It's simply because of the feelings and the experience that you get from that consumption. So it is that experience, it is that feelings of the consumption that matters. It's not just about the product itself, but the whole process, the feelings that you can that attach to that consumption process that will make you like or dislike the product. Okay, we like cafe, not just drinking coffee in our own room, even though the taste of the coffee may be the same. It exactly tells you what do you mean by the experience and the feeling, because you like to enjoy that feelings of being in the cafe, that kind of coziness, not just in your room. So that satisfactions and perceived value does matter. All right. And you certainly do not want to buy something if you know that the process of producing that product will kill people, will kill animal, and you won't be proud wearing that cloth of consuming that product if you know that's the case, because people have perceived justice value in their mind, consciously or unconsciously. So that perceived value, therefore, is what we call the awareness. How do we change the perceived value of the clients to a product or a service? So that kind of perceived value or experience usually, traditionally, comes from the ability to spend. The C here is the experience to spend. And so there's a positive sign here. That means more you consume, the more satisfaction you get. Right? So that's the idea. Now, And then you also learn that people don't like to work. They like leisures. They like to hang out. So this L stands for labor. So we don't like to work. So if you have to work more longer hours, so it will reduce the satisfactions that you have. So traditionally, we just cared about these two. But in more recent days, when we start to talk more about awareness, for example, you perceive fairness in the consumption. You want to know the product that the coffee, the beans that you consume, the clothes that you wear, does it use any materials that involve forced labor, that people will even sacrifice their life in producing something for you to be put on your body? So you do not want to engage yourself with that. So you start to think about fairness, and you don't mind paying a little bit more if you think that that's fair to everyone. That seems like a premium. You also perceive about the fairness in your workplace. It's the salary. W stands for salaries. The salaries, the compensations that you obtain, are they comparable to your CEOs? Are they comparable to your peers? You start to care about the fairness in the workplace. So if those things are there, then you see that the whole perceptions for the clients will be different, which means the way that the business should be dealing with their clients will also need to be different. All right. So therefore, here comes the idea of all this ESG. So if you want to be sustainable, again, be sustainable here means you can maintain your business for a long time, so that and in order to sustain your business, that means you must have a good relationship with your clients. You must have a very loyal, sustainable client base. Now that means you must understand what they think about. So if the clients, the customers already have a change in their perceived value, that they start to care more about their actions on the environment, they start to think about more, being fair in treating everyone in the workplace. So you talk about social. You start to think that I do not want to buy products from a corrupted companies. If I know that these companies, they are corrupted, they force, they hire child labor. No, I don't want to associate myself with anything about this company products, neither the products or anything else. So you start to think about the governance of the companies. So if the clients have that kind of perceived, all this awareness in making their consumption decision, then firms therefore have to taken in all those ESG into their business. So here, that's how the whole idea comes from. All right, and because of that, then you can already see how this ESG different from corporate social responsibility, for example, because corporate social responsibility, most of the time they are out of the domain of the business. All right, even though corporate social responsibility sometimes can be an effort to build up their brand, build up their image, their reputation, which will be good for their company's reputation and therefore their ability to charge prices to sell their products. But somehow they are outside the domain of business decision. But this ESG, like I mentioned, because they are related to customers' perceived value, and customers are their source of income, source of revenue, and therefore you have to take in the concept of ESG into your business decision-making process. It's no longer out of the domain, but inside the domain. Okay, so okay, let me go to the next slides. All right, now let me take you 2 more slides before we start talking about the bad things about ESG, right? So all these are about the good things of ESG. Now, I put up this. What is this? This is an advocacy or a statement proposed by the CEOs of the US listed companies in 2019, as you can see. So today, 2022, we start talk about ESG, but you know that this idea has been floating for quite a number of years. Now, in this statement, these 181 CEOs, the big guns in those largest listed companies in the United States. So they together make a statement about the importance of ESG. They say what? They say that the purpose of a corporation is no longer to maximize profit, but to promote an economy that serves all Americans. Then you can imagine these statements apply to other countries as well. Okay, now I show you their statements. So see what they say. I will quickly read it for you. Delivering value to our customers. So you see, they talk about delivering value to the customers. Investing in our employees. This starts with compensating them fairly and providing important benefits. So you talk about relationship with the employees. So those are in the social domain. And then dealing fairly and ethically with our suppliers. All right, so those are again on the social, more on governance domain. And then supporting the communities in which we work. So we respect the people in our communities and protect the environment. So then you start to talk about the E side, the environment, the social. So last, generating long-term value for shareholders. So those are the things sounds very ethical, am I right? Those are exactly what we just discussed. And they are also seems to be agreed by those big corporations in the States. Okay. And then if you are from finance investment perspective looking at this event, all right, then you probably the question that you are interested the most will be, if I want to invest in those companies with outperforming ESG achievement, would I get better results? Because the idea is companies, if they really pay attention to the employees, to the clients, to the suppliers, to the environment, they're supposed to be able to produce good value through their products and services, and they are supposed to be able to generate better revenue and therefore better profit. It seems to be like that, right? So then I just pick some of these stock returns for China, Indonesia, Malaysian market. I can't find Vietnam, so I believe that the Vietnam hasn't yet come up with what I call an index that measure the ESG performance of their listed companies. Now, so all what is this charts about? Again, this is a Morgan Stanley index. They trace those listed companies with, they call it ESG leaders. So that means those listed companies with very good performance in terms of ESG achievement. And then they trace their returns in the profit if you want to buy those stocks. All right. So then they trace the gross returns. So the blue color refers to the ESG leaders, and the yellow color refers to the general one. Okay. So then, as you can see here, then these charts try to show that, well, if you just simply calculate the gross return of those companies, they seems to earn more. If you invest in those companies, it seems like you're able to earn more compared to you invest in non-ESG companies. And the difference seems to be quite obvious. That's the case for China. And then it seems like more or less the case for Indonesia as well. All right, because again, you probably can roughly observe that those blue lines are always above the yellow line. So which means companies being ESG leaders, they tend to yield better return to the investors over the time. in Indonesia. Same case in Malaysia. All right, blue line seems to be always above yellow, even though our stock return doesn't seem attractive. Yeah, it has been flat for many years. You look at the case of Indonesia, it's steadily going upward. You look at the case of China, explosionally upward, even though it has been retreating in the past year. Anyway, so that's okay. So much for the good news. Now I already spent 40 minutes, so I'll spend the rest 20 minutes to talk about something. Not to say the bad things about ESG, but we are not just ESG. In a university, being a student, being an academician, so having critical thinking is always what we need. So ESG does have its darkness, does have its dark side. Okay, so let me ask you questions. You look at the previous three charts showing the gross return for investing in ESG leaders. It seems like they look better, am I right? So they have better return compared to those non-ESG companies. Now, the only questions now you probably have to start asking yourself, being a student learning professional courses in econometrics, in statistics, can that better return and being ESG leaders simply be coincident? Because those companies, they could be already a good company by themselves, and therefore they have a better awareness about ESG and are able to generate better returns to the investors. So you see that, therefore you observe ESG leaders being ESG leaders and good gross return, they seems to happen at the same time, which means you are an ESG leader. At the same time, you tend to provide yield better return reward to the investors. They are actually caused not by ESG, but caused by other character, right? The character of being a good company by itself. You know what I mean? So in that case, being able to generate better return is not because of ESG. It's because of something else. All right. So people start to have that kind of question in their minds. I put a word here. Good performing companies by nature, they must be committing to their stakeholders. All right. So ESG it's something redundant, you know. Even without the term ESG, those good companies are doing what they are good. They are doing what they are good in. All right. So in the next 3 slides, I'm going to show you 3 different empirical results. When we say empirical results, meaning all these researchers, they look at the performance of those firms being categorized as ESG performer and non-ESG performer, and look at how they perform. All right, they are just not looking at the charts, but they have like using scientific methods to sort out the relationship. Now, so I picked it up from this short article written by Sanjay Bhagat, published in the Harvard Business Review, with the title "An Inconvenient Truth About ESG Investing." Now, I put a title here. ESG is empirically found to be irrelevant at best, but it can be dangerous at worst. That means ESG is something not useful. Not useful is the best scenario. It can be damaging at the worst scenario. So let me show you. Now, let me give you a conclusion here, read you the conclusion here. Close analysis suggests that it is not only not making much difference to companies' actual ESG performance, meaning whether you grant yourself ESG leaders or not, it doesn't really matter for companies' attitude toward the real ESG. It may actually be directing capital into poor business performers. So let me quickly go through the three research findings that the article has cited. The first one is what? No difference in market performance. Now, what we observed just now, they are rough observation. Like I said, being an ESG leader showing better return doesn't really mean the better return comes from ESG. It actually can come from other factors. So if you really, not just by observe roughly, but by doing empirical research, you probably can decipher, can find out the underlying reasons behind. And those articles doing so find what? Let me read it out for you. None, let me just go to the conclusion. None of the high sustainability funds outperform any of the lowest rated funds. That means this paper, looking at those mutual funds investing in the ESG companies and other funds investing in non-ESG companies, and they find no difference between the returns of these two different funds. All right. Companies are paying lip services. Okay. So what this research found, they found that, let me read it again, companies in the ESG portfolio had worse compliance record for both labor and environmental rules. They also found that companies added to ESG portfolios did not subsequently improve compliance with labor or environmental regulations. That means that they are given the status as an ESG maintainer or ESG performer, but they didn't really do something solid about ESG after that. Okay, so that means companies are just paying lip service for being in ESG. So this is the worst thing. ESG as a cover-up for bad business performance. Let me read you this. Yeah. Now, this paper found what? So I read it for you. When managers underperform the earnings expectations, they often publicly talk about their focus on ESG. But when they exceeded earnings expectations, they made few, if any, public statements related to ESG, which means what? When they know that their results are going to be bad, and they have this what they call the public release, the media release conference, then by knowing beforehand that their company's results are going to be bad, so they talk a lot about the company's effort on ESG. But during the quarter when they are doing very good, then they basically stop talking about ESG. So what's the consequence? The consequence is, if you are that fund managers, if you are the mutual funds trying to locate listed companies that pay attention to ESG, and you attend their media, their press conference, and hearing that these companies keep talking about ESG, seems to be something committed to ESG, so you buy their shares because of those word commitments, then you are more likely to invest in the wrong companies. You invest your funds in those bad performing companies, because the good performing companies, they seldom talk about this ESG. All right. So I have a few more slides to go. All right. Now this Luigi Zingelis, he is the professor of finance in the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, a very famous economist in the States and the Europe. Now you see this right after the publication of the 180 CEOs statement. So he wrote this title for his opinion piece: "Don't trust CEOs who say they don't care about shareholder value anymore." Don't trust them. That means they are all paying lip services. Why does he say so? Why did he say so? Why do I say so? In a way, you look at, there are 181 signatures there. You look at those signatories. Some of the companies, you remember the ESG, we must taking care of the benefit employees. But there's one company right here trying every effort he can to stop, to block the employees from forming their labor union, which is the Amazon, if you follow the news, isn't it? Because forming labor unions is exactly to safeguard the benefit of the workers, especially those low rank, lower earning workers, so that, because you can imagine that being a low rank workers, you basically don't have any bargaining power with your boss, with your supervisors when it comes to benefits, when it comes to salary. So you need a labor union so that they have a stronger bargaining power. And Amazon tries every effort they can to stop the formation of labor union. So you say you want to take care of the benefit, but on the other hand, no, you stop that from being happening. If you look at the companies here, ExxonMobil, for example, this is exactly a fossil fuel companies that has been the major culprit to the climate change that we're facing today. Am I right? And yet you talk about maintaining the green environment while being someone who contribute to the pollution of the environment. Eastman Chemical as well. DuPont that I didn't put up here. Saying that we must take care of the local communities and the local environment. And yet DuPont was known to have dumped the waste, the chemical waste, and pollute and cause damaging disease to the community in the States. There was even a movie starred by Julia Roberts, and Julia Roberts won the award, Oscar award for that character. You know, you look at this Jamie Dimon, J.P. Morgan, for example, taking care of the society of the community. But you know, J.P. Morgan was one of the companies that basically contributed to the global financial crisis, selling toxic mortgage loans as well as those toxic investment papers to the investors. So here, therefore, people, we have all these questions, all the doubts. Talk is one thing, and then, in the real world, doing things is another thing. Now, so I conclude. This is my last slides for this presentation. So I'm sharp at 1 o'clock, 1 hour. So what is this? Now, some would say is what? If look at this one, Bogart. So he says that this ESG seems to be redundant. Let me read it out for you. In competitive labor and product markets, corporate managers trying to maximize long-term shareholder value should, of their own accord, pay attention to employee, customers, community, and environment interests. Okay. Like I said, I mean, if you are able to be a global, a sustainable companies, by nature, you must be the one that you are able to have a good relationship with your employees, with the local community, with your customers. Otherwise, you won't be big. If you have a turnover of 100% every month, every year, because you maintain a very bad relationship with employees, how can it be growing? You can't be good company by then, So shouldn't be that case. If that's the case, then you don't even need the word ESG. And yet, as long as everyone doing their best, being a workers, I strive the best in my work. Being a suppliers, I supply the best quality materials to my clients. Being a companies, hiring so many workers, being faithful to my employees because they spend their life with the companies, and customers are the one who are going to consume our product. So we have that responsibility to make sure that we provide the ethical, the right products to the market. And as long as everyone act at their professionalism, you don't need ESG, right? So here's the questions that we probably would think about. Lack of accountability. So let me conclude with this one. Now, this Adolf Bell, written in 1932, say this. I quote this from the Luigi Zingales opinion piece. You cannot abandon emphasis on the view that business corporation exists for the sole purpose of making profits for their shareholders until such time as you are prepared to offer a clear, reasonably enforceable scheme of responsibility to someone else. So the idea is that why people pay attention so much on focus for corporates, right? Because we need a goal. We need a goal that you know how to measure them. If you didn't achieve that goal, so you know that who shall be accounted for and who shall take responsibility for that. So that's the idea of why we need, at least for business corporations, profits as an anchor. Of course, for a non-profit organization, then they have a different anchor. But profits is an anchor for business corporation. Otherwise, you take away that one, everyone talks about ESG, then you start making loss. But you're still talking about ESG. Can the firm be sustainable? And upon the name that we should not look at short-term profits because we have to take care of the long-term value. So the current making loss or earning lesser, fewer is something reasonable. But by then, that making loss, that poor business performance can actually due to the poor management performance of that administration. So by right, if we pay a focus still on the profitability, that administration is supposed to be already being replaced because they have to account, they hold accountability to bring in someone who are more capable to make the business more sustainable. But if you take away that focus, pay attention only to ESG, then you lose that focus and people have no chance to replace a better administration for a worse one. And then the company at the end won't be sustainable. All right, so that's the thought that I hope to share with you, thinking both pros and cons of talking a lot about ESG. All right, so okay, so I stopped the sharing here and I return to Farahin.
Thank you, Prof. Wang, for a very informative lecture in which I think I learned about ESG, in which they have both pro and cons in both ways. From what the speaker has shared, hopefully our participants are able to gain deeper understanding on the fundamental of ESG. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question to the speaker, you may drop your question in the chat box and I will deliver your questions to our speaker. Any question from all participants? You may drop your question in the chat box.
So not asking any questions, it's a norm for students across countries, across culture. It's not just Malaysian students. Or if you do have any, because I'm from economics background, so any one of you, you do have any questions related to econs as well, then you can ask the questions as well. So we still have one.
Okay, Prof. We have one question from Jaja from Utah. Are you more on the ESG side or profit generate side?
I think, of course, my position is not important. But if you really want to ask my position, then my position is actually my conclusion. So I would think that if, like the conclusion that I made, if everyone in this line, whether you are suppliers, whether you are customers, whether you are workers, whether you are the boss, the owners, so if we do our work professionally, so at the end, we are able to achieve the ESG even without the banner of ESG. So it's not so much about against ESG, because we talk a lot about ESG. It's kind of creating awareness. Recall that awareness does matter in changing the society and changing the way we do business, right? Because if customers are the king, so you have to change the mindset of the king at the first place. So that does matter as well. So the only thing is that I am just afraid of, it's like everyone go for extreme. If we don't talk about ESG, that means you are a bad company. Then everyone like go one extreme crazy for ESG, but at the end, only find out that it is not as good as promising as it is. Then we are disappointed. Then we try to search again under the concept. That kind of situation.
Okay, so Jaja again, some of the business nature are more easy to achieve ESG at the same time generate profit. So that is another question from Jaja.
I do not see it that way. I think every business will have. First of all, you do not need to achieve ESG proportionally or evenly each time, because like Ajay mentioned, some of the business in nature they are less polluting. So the environment probably, of course, must be something that they are not of their concern, but they probably are more concerned about relationship with the local communities, because they may be the one who running business. The customers come from the community surrounding them, so therefore the emphasis probably are more on social. So I mean that could happen in that way. Now, what I will argue more is most of the companies probably think ESG as a cost, not as a source of profit. Because you know that if you want to really invest in technology or the practices that are good for the society, good environment, you actually need to spend money. So businessmen usually will think that as a cost first, because of being cost, that means they were not doing that. So I would think rather than saying that some businesses are easy, some businesses are not, then I would say that most of the business at this moment, they really have to change on how to view this ESG, not just in terms of cost, but bringing into their business decision or business model to make it a source of profit. Let me give an example. Now, I have a conversation with the CEO of Farm Fresh. Now, they are doing, they face a cost of, because of the Russian-Ukraine war. All right, so they face difficulties in getting corn to feed their beef. Okay, and of course, and as well as when they have trouble in, because the increasing oil price, all the diesel prices, so the cost of generating or running the business, running their farming, therefore will incur additional costs because of that. Now, he told me that he is now, the company is now using the waste from the cows to generate what we call the biomass energy. So he actually regretted that he didn't invest faster and more few years back. He started doing that, but in a small scale, and he regretted not doing that in a faster pace. Because if he was doing that in a faster pace, then by today, he already will save the cost of using diesel to generate power, but he can generate the biomass power from the cows in his own farm. So it's like a circular economy by then, and you save the cost. And even though at the very beginning of doing so, it seems like a cost that the company has to dump in, but later on, it actually become a source to save the cost. So I guess same example can be applied to all different kind of corporations. Instead of viewing investment in ESG practices as a cost, but we'll rather think doing so actually will save the cost later on. Even same things like you want to pay better benefits compensation to the employees. Then of course the boss will think that that's cost, right? You have to pay them more, but they never realize that by paying a better benefits to the employees, then they actually will stay in the companies longer. Like I said, they are happier employees, and they actually will will serve the customers better and therefore bring in revenues more. Just that those are the indirect stuff that you have to observe them. So I mean, again, that's the kind of mindset that the business owner have to change. Hi, Farahid. Okay, never mind. So, any more questions? Yes, you are right. Not purposely, but he made the decision because he was the one who cared about the environment in the first place. So therefore, he did so not out of any fancy idea, but not forced by anyone, but simply because out of his love towards the environment. So he started doing that, and somehow it happens to bring the benefits to the company later. All right. So, anyone else? Any more questions? No, I'm not an ambassador from Fresh, but I just like the company. You can write your questions. I can read. I can read Mandarin. I can read Bahasa Indonesia. Apparently, I just can't read Vietnam language. So for for those who you want to write in Indonesian in Mandarin, you can do so. Then I can address your questions as well.
So any question from dear participants? Any additional question? Seems like the participant don't have any question
Fallen asleep.
until this moment.
是的，我可以说华语。
So the, Prof Wong, maybe you can answer because I cannot read
No,
Mandarin.
I mean, Jia just asked if I can speak Mandarin. Yes, I say I can.
Oh. Okay, I guess there are no questions from the participants.
Next time when we have this kind of what do you call event, we should have what get everyone's address, and then we grab meals to everyone, so then we can drinks eat while we are having the talk at the same time.
So that
our
they
tea
get
time.
more active
Yeah.
in the interaction part.
Yeah.
So Chen Hei Yan from Utah said, I don't have questions, but I like your voice. Feel like I don't know.
Someone help me.
Someone help me. Seems like a pervert, maybe. Okay, maybe a compliment to you, Prof. Okay, so no question from the participant. Perhaps we can close the session. Thank you, Prof, once again for a great sharing, for a great topic covering both pros and cons on ESG. Okay, because throughout the 2 days of session, I think most of us, we look forward on more on the pros of ESG. However, now I know that ESG also have some cons on different part of it. Thank you, Prof, once again for the lecture.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So see you all again. Thank you. Thank you, Farhin. Thank you, Nuzanatu. Nuza. No.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Bye.
Bye. Hopefully to meet you again.
Yeah, hope so. We will, sure will.
All right, dear participant, ladies and gentlemen, now we reach to the students' discussion session. Later on, we will open breakout rooms, just like yesterday, according to the group number. So kindly please enroll yourself in the breakout room that you belongs to. In this session, you may discuss on your proposed ideas to improve the chosen local company's ESG practices. Okay, I think all of you may know that yesterday we have discussed on the chosen local company from for each group. Okay, you need to choose one local company that practice ESG. So for this session of discussion, we want you to do the brainstorming on the ideas how to improve the chosen local companies' ESG practices, in which you may found uh, their current practices in their website and so on. So in the discussion, we would like you to come up with your own ideas, your own proposal, how to improve their ESG practices, maybe on the part of their policies or the part of their company practices. All right. So the breakout room will be dismissed at 12 p.m. Malaysian time. Okay, so for the final session on 1st July, we will be having a student presentation in which every group will need to present on your outcome of all of this discussion session. Okay, in which every group will need to present on your chosen local company who practice ESG and their current practices. And you also need to include in your presentation your proposed idea on in order to improve these local companies' ESG practices. So in the presentation, it will include these three main content, okay, in which every group will be judged by each university representative. Okay, so please carry on with your discussion and please enroll yourself in the breakout room.
Hai guys, jadi ngapain? Penerapan ESG kan? Iya. Mau tentuin sekarang aja. Mm-mm. Iya benar. Nah coba kalau aku lihat sih kayaknya lama-lama banyak ya tiga-tiganya. Mau pakai Gojek boleh sih. Oh tiga-tiganya sama-sama banyak. Mm-mm. Benar selalu selalu lingkungan. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Kayak enggak deh kayaknya. Coba kalau nggak lihat ini deh Jo, ini mungkin belum terkenal tapi itu dia benar-benar based on lingkungan. Namanya Demi Bumi. Coba deh cari Demi Bumi. Cuman dia nggak masuk, maksudnya belum masuk bursa efek gitu-gitu belum. Cuman dia itu eh, fokusnya kayak daur ulang gitu-gitu terus kayak nyiptain kantong belanja pak bekas pakai coba aja lihat terus kayak bikin bahkan sampai bikin sampo sabun gitu-gitu. Hmm. Tapi yes benar. Hmm. Hmm. Yang Demi Bumi ID itu. Yes. Kayak bakal disuruh presentasi. Oke. Aku hmm. Jadi aku buat yang kenapa? Aku buat yang inget. Nah, aku nggak bisa presentasi, aku magang weh. WFO soalnya magangku. Nggak mungkin aku ngomong Jonathan aja nih. Jonathan. Aku masuk, cuman aku nggak bisa ngomong. Karena kan kayak kan kalau di kantor kayak ngomong-ngomong gitu, gitu. Ya itu. Jadi paling yang aku nggak bisa presentasi gitu. Tapi ntar aku ada gitu. Hai, iya kah? Udah kok, udah aja. Ya, Tuh yang dikirim. Yang mana ya? Yang Kevin atau yang kamu? Ya udah, oke. Coba aku eh coba aku tanya ya. Gimana tadi? Nggak jadi pakai yang demi bumi kan tadi? Jadi gimana? Ya udah. Jadi dia pakai docs yang tadi kan ya? Saya kaget ya ada si Utar ya. Oh, dia tuh tuan rumahnya ya? Ya ampun. Background kan itu paling eh kasih kayak produknya nggak sih? Kayak contoh produk yang dipakai gitu. Atau kayak nih produk. Oh, logonya juga. Pada nemu nggak guys website-nya? Takutnya kalian nggak nemu. Hmm. Kalau yang lu mana ya, Jo? Itunya, link docs-nya. Oh, di grup ya. Iya. Kayaknya nggak usah bener-bener kayak proposal banget deh. Yang penting kayak ya udah ada yang bisa dipresentasiin gitu. Entar kayak kalau dipresentasiin pakai PPT nggak sih? Harusnya, harusnya kayak Canva gitu. Oh, nanya ke yang sebelah, katanya belum bikin. Hmm, hmm. Nggak tahu kalau ditanya, jadi kalian udah sampai mana? Aku nanya gitu. Oh, belum bikin apa-apa. Kasih. Mm-mm. Iya, ini tuh kayak yang dari kan nggak jadi. Temen aku malah bilang nggak tahu. Dia bilang kayak nggak tahu gitu. Kalau yang nanya, proposal harus kan nggak tahu. Kayak, hanya kayak tanya panitianya nggak sih? Kalau mau. Tapi, mm-mm. Ini Kevin sama Devita kalau masuk masuk aja guys. Tulis-tulis aja. Nggak apa-apa. Kalau masukin gitu aksesorisnya apa, foto-fotonya gitu. Tapi kayak banyak nggak ya yang bisa? Tapi kayak kalau menurut kamu, kayak nih, ini kan kayak dia produknya dikit banget. Saya kayak yang kita tahu tentang dia dikit nggak apa-apa kali ya? Nggak cuma segitu. Kalau nggak, kan ini produknya ntar dimasukin. Terus dari itu ini aja, kayak, kan dia bilang gimana cara ngerapinnya. Ya nggak sih? Dia bilang kayak, how to practice-nya kan. Nah, sementara kan mereka udah menerapkan tuh. Bener gak sih? Coba improve. Oh enggak, dia kayaknya kayak kayaknya tuh kayak kita salah deh. Kayaknya harusnya tuh yang emang dia tuh belum nerapin full. Ya nggak sih? Kan dia bilang, ya nih kan, nah dia bilang kan discuss on the proposed ideas to improve. Berarti kan sebelumnya dia kayak nggak terlalu improve kan dalam ESG ini. Nah, terus berarti kita harus cari yang kayak perusahaan itu belum improve, tapi kita bisa improve gitu. Nggak sih? Maksudnya? Berarti, iya, berarti nggak bisa. Ya nggak sih? Berarti harus cari yang udah di-improve gitu. Kayak misalkan Gojek nih, dia kan waktu itu lu bilang dia nerapin apa sih yang karbon emisi itu kan. Nah, mungkin bisa kayak Nah, itu caranya dengan apa gitu. Misalkan membantu misalkan ini cuman ide biasa aja kayak pakai motor listrik gitu, misalnya kayak nyumbangin motor listrik atau misalkan ya gitulah ya sih. Iya, belum bisa. Mm-mm. Iya, atau bisa juga kayak gini, kayak yang beberapa gue tau kayak misalnya Garnier gitu, kayak dia tuh kayak punya produk kecantikan gitu. Nah, terus sih kayak kalau misalnya seandainya lu udah pakai si produknya itu sih kemasannya tuh lu simpen lagi gitu. Jadi dia nyediain gitu. Nah, dia simpen jadi ntar dia refill si produknya dia itu pakai apa namanya? Pakai kemasan yang reusable gitu loh, enggak sih? Kayak dia kan ini kan, ngerti gak sih kayak kayak jadi tuh si kemasannya tuh di kayak di recycle lagi gitu. Gitu sih, Jo. Iya kayak gitu. Iya, kalau nggak bener bisa walau aku kayak Aqua kan kayak dia harusnya nerapin juga nggak sih? Nah, kita bisa bantu improve soalnya kan banyak banget nih sampah plastik. Nah, mungkin kita bisa pakai contohnya Aqua. Ya nggak sih tuh kayak Kevin bilang bener jadi lebih simple juga. Terus produknya nggak banyak kan? Produknya kayak cuma Aqua doang kan? Gitu loh. Hah? Ya, kan misalnya lu udah pakai nih, udah pakai si eh Aquanya ini. Nah, itu tuh lu kayak nggak langsung buang, tapi kayak lu masukin ke iya. Nah, tapi kan itu dari sisi kita kan. Tapi kalau dari sisi perusahaannya cara dia nge-recycle-nya ya dia si akunnya itu lu masukin lagi ke lu balikin lagi gitu, lu recycle lagi dari customer gitu. Jadi lu masukin ke misalnya dia punya kayak bank sampahnya sendiri gitu loh. Terus dia gitu, ntar dari bank sampah itu dia kayak recycle lagi. Nggak maksudnya? Ya, nah mereka kan recycle-nya aqua galon nih. Nah, ya udah, berarti kan sekarang mereka bisa menerapkan air minum botolnya gitu yang recycle gitu. Hmm. Ya, enggak kalau yang galon aqua gini, lu di rumah pakai apa minum? Aku galon kan. Nah, kalau lu kalau lu pernah nggak sih kayak lu tau gak sih kalau lu beli galon atau lu isi ulang, lu tuh harus ngasih mereka galon juga kayak ibaratnya lu tuh barter gitu. Kayak lu barter si galonnya, tiga sih. Jadi, nah itu kan bentuk recycle kan, ya kan? Hmm. Nah kalau lu lihat kalau lu lihat lem mineralnya itu kalau misalnya lu eh lem mineralnya, iya lem mineral yang galon itu tuh lu bisa buang langsung. Jadi kalau lu beli galonnya si lem mineralnya itu lu nggak perlu tuker pakai galon lu gitu. Nah kalau aqua itu enggak, aqua amidis itu enggak. Jadi kayak mereka nerapin kayak kalau lu mau beli galonnya mereka, lu harus kasih dulu galon. Jadi kayak lu barter gitu, barter galon. Enggak. Iya. Eh, iya harusnya. Coba. Terus sih aqua ESG aqua penerapan ESG dalam aqua gitu. Bumi kan dia emang bisnisnya eh ini kan based on based on lingkungan, ya nggak sih? Heeh. Nih, gue nemuin ini sih. Kalau nggak coba aja cari penerapan ESG dalam perusahaan Indonesia gitu. Bisa muncul sih. Bang aja sih nerapin ESG. Kayaknya mayor. Aku tuh kan perusahaan TBK ya. Dia bukan yang ada di barat ini kan. Ada di dia perusahaannya tuh ada sahamnya gitu di Bursa Efek. Iya, Mayora nggak nerapin ESG sih. Mm-mm. Iya, nggak bisa nih. Mm-mm. Tujuh aja sih. Kalau aku. Padahal tuh Devita mah itu gimana? Devita.
Hai,
Ah iya kah? Gue punyanya Danon ya. Iya nggak sih?
be- nggak tahu sih. Beda nggak sih?
Oh, beda ya?
Danon. Hai guys,
Sejarah
maaf.
perusahaan.
Masih
Apa
ngurusin
Devita?
magang. Ribet banget nih.
Oh, kamu belum dapat kah atau gimana?
Masih apply-apply. Masih
Oh,
digantungin deh. Gimana?
nggak apa-apa. Sun pasti banyak lah. Aku tuh dari Indonesia, dia bilang tuh. Di pro, dicetuskan oleh seorang pria bernama Tirto Utomo gitu. Kemudian pada tahun 1973 Aqua diproduksi secara massal oleh PT Aqua Golden Mississippi Indonesia gitu.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hi. So you have question regarding the presentation, right? Oh, actually, there is no need for the proposal. All the discussion outcome, you just compile it in the PPT, just PowerPoint, and then on our final day, you just need to present your discussion outcome. Hmm. Yeah, PPT only. So all your like proposed idea and so on, you just put it in the PowerPoint only. Mhm. Okay. So you have any question regarding the content? Maybe it is not clear, so you want me to make it clearer?
For me, that's now. Thank you,
All
Miss
right.
Farhin
Thank
and Nur.
you. So all of you from Jakarta, is it? Oh.
Yes, Miss.
Mm-hmm. Because I heard you speak just now is kind of like uh because previously we work with several Indonesian university, so usually we will heard like different kind of slang from the students. So maybe because of the part of the country. So like different part will have different slang, right? Because when you speak just now, I cannot like really understand what you're talking about.
Siti. Yeah.
Mm,
Language. Yes.
okay, okay, okay.
Accent.
Oh, thank you, thank you. But it's not the Javanese, right? It's not Javanese slang, right? Yeah, yeah. The Indonesian language that you speak just now between you guys.
No, that's
Oh,
Java or Chinese. Like, literally Indonesian
oh, it is a
language.
standard Indonesian.
Yes, but not not formal ya. I think ya Jo. Nggak formal nggak sih kita kayak yang sih?
Oh, not formal. Oh, so it's based on the slang, yeah, the accent of the city. Okay, good, good. Because last time I watched the Indonesian movie, the hunted movie one. I think they are using like Java language. I also don't understand the language.
Hmm.
Oh,
Maybe
you
because the city is Jakarta, so the people that stay in Jakarta or the city is like uh apa ya, mix gitu, mix from the other city gitu.
mm,
The
maybe they
apa ya,
come from
transmigran.
different part, then they mix the language.
Yes, I see.
Okay, okay. You guys, for the on 30th, right? 30th June, on our third day of the session, we will have the cultural exchange activity. So maybe among you guys from UMN, maybe you can prepare something in order to maybe change your culture with other universities. For example, you can share about the general info about your country, about maybe the traditional costume, special food, just like what you have been discussing yesterday, right, in the breakout room. So we will have that special session on 30th June. Okay. It doesn't necessary all of you to involve lah. Maybe you can just appoint some of you for 30 minutes from each uni, 30 minutes sharing. Okay. Okay. Thank you. No other question, right? Okay. So I will leave to visit other room. Bye bye.
Si Kevin ngakak.
Agak kaget ya.
Sama, nggak apa-apa guys. Yang penting kita bacot ya.
Yang penting biar asik gitu.
So asik ya.
Gak apa-apa, gak apa-apa.
Di Malaysia ya? Oh iya juga ya.
Heeh.
Bisa. Mereka tuh kayak gini, misalnya tak cakep gitu, kayak nggak bagus ya, kayak berarti tak cakep gitu kan, kayak tetap sih kalau kita ngomongnya kayak gini. Kalau kita kan nggak baku kan ngomongnya kayak, nah kalau misalnya nggak baku mereka nggak akan ngerti, kayak enggak kan harusnya tidak gitu kan, gitu. Ya jadi mereka, apalagi kalau yang pakai kayak misalnya kaya terus kayak suka ngomong kayak ya gue kayak ya atau gue gitu kan, dia mana ngerti gak sih, saya kan masih ngertinya. Iya.
Mm-mm.
Gak apa, ya benar, kita bikin bareng-bareng aja teksnya, gampang lah gitu. Jadi kalau enggak gimana gini ya, atau kalau dulu Google Docs gak sih, jadi kayak lu berdua bacanya enak gitu. Jadi ini apa guys. Wah, kalian tuh sebenarnya disuruh ini tuh terpaksa atau di volunteer? Dipaksa siapa? Dipaksa siapa? Kaprodi ya? Gara-gara soalnya apa? Oh, lu himpunan berarti ya? Ini semua himpunan kan di sini? Hmm,
Gue udah demis.
kenapa?
Udah demis. Udah nggak himpunan.
Oh, tapi lu eh, dipaksa
Gue
atau
di
gimana? Dev?
di chat kaprodi, tiba-tiba Devita, saya butuh satu orang nih. Kamu mau nggak gitu? Terus gue tanya
Oh,
kan, kira-kira kegiatannya ngapain ya Bu? Ya udah boleh. Terus nggak dijawab, cuman ya udah saya daftarin ya, langsung didaftarin.
nah, gue juga sama. Gue kayak di chat kayak si Jonathan. Gue kan himpunan kan, diminta itu tolong dong 3 orang gitu, 3 orang. Itu terus udah gitu, gue kira tuh ini tuh webinar, ngerti gak sih? Jadi kayak udah gue ikut aja webinar gitu. Soalnya nggak enak juga kan lagi UAS. Terus masa nyuruh anak himpunan gue kayak buat maksa ikut atau kayak di shuffle gitu kan. Kasihan juga kan mereka ntar shock gitu. Jadi ya udah, ini tuh BPH-nya jadinya gitu. Iya, himpunan himpunan mahasiswa, Vin. Itu terus tuh kayak tiba-tiba kayak pertukaran pelajar ya, gue shock dong, harus ada interaksi, harus ada diskusi gitu-gitu. Iya, kalau gue sih ada banyak ya, maksudnya kayak ini berhubungan, tapi kayak ngerti gak sih kayak Aduh, udah semester tua. Ya kan, Dev?
Iya.
Harus
Lagi.
semester tua disuruh ginian. Iya, ya itu benar. Terus tiba-tiba tuh dia bagian dari laporan laporan eh pertanggungjawaban dan hal lingkungan gitu. Mm-mm. Iya enggak deh, kayaknya nggak kayak itu sih kalau yang gue lihat ya. Hmm. Mager banget deh, guys. Nih gue jadi kayak terus sejarah dulu kali ya. Kalau nggak gini aja guys, bagi tugas gimana? Misalnya gue bikin sejarah, ntar ada yang apanya gitu. Ntar sisanya yang dibahas bareng-bareng gitu. Kan yang pertama ada ini, coba ya, sejarah kan, bahasa Indonesia dulu ya. Yang kedua apa? Produk.
Boleh.
Hmm. Ya, berarti ini saran. Berarti kan saran kan? Apa sih saran praktik SG untuk aku gitu. Saran praktik ke depannya. Ya, benar nggak sih? SG lingkungan kan maksudnya? SG itu kayak lingkungan, Mbak. Dia lingkungan. Maksudnya nggak mencangkup ke sosial atau politik atau ekonomi. Benar-benar pure lingkungan, setahu gue ya. Makanya dia ada sampai indeksnya. Dia tuh ada kayak eh, organisasinya sendiri buat perusahaan-perusahaan yang nerapin ESG itu tuh karena si ESG ini tuh emang concernnya di bidang lingkungan aja itu sih Jo. Gini gimana 4 nih yang sarannya ini ntar bareng-barengnya ada 3 eh gini aja nih sejarah sama produk 1 orang terus ini gimana ya baginya terserah sih kalian gimana baginya atau nggak kita discuss yang ini deh yang saran dulu aja yang saran dulu gimana ini kan atau ada itu lagi enggak hmm ya 4 aja lah nggak usah banyak-banyak lah ya. Mm-mm.
Iya.
Ya udah ya, boleh boleh
Boleh.
mungkin paling ini aja kali ya sejarah produk bisa nih yang ini nih yang 2 orang ya nggak sih karena kan ini mikirnya banyak nih yang 4 yang sejarah produk disatuin gitu ini 3 itu boleh gacha aja gacha deh biar adil
Bebas, bebas.
Nggak bisa. Oh iya.
Oh,
Udah lu gacha sendiri, ntar lu SS ke grup gitu aja.
kita percaya kok.
Ya kita percaya sama lu.
Yo.
Random picker. Random picker. Mm-mm.
Hello, hello.
Halo,
Halo.
Jia.
Yeah, you're discussing? Oh, okay. Yeah, just come and see. Just now I go to other group and then we have sharing. No, I mean actually we are talking about some cultural thing instead of the ESG. But it's okay if you all are discuss about ESG thing. And just now I think Jason, he's not here. Yeah, we talk about like in Indonesia, what type of food is very famous and what is the food in Malaysia. And then also we talk about like in China, in Guizhou, like what type of food is very famous there. And then we keep talking about that. Yeah. So you all discuss about you can continue to discuss about the ESG, but just asking whether you all want to introduce anything from Indonesia. Like I think here we have two from Guizhou. They are joining us. I think we can have some cultural sharing as well, since I think that is the main purpose of having different university to gather. Of course, except for the topic of ESG, you all can know each other as well. Because now cannot go to other country and yeah. You all want to share anything from Indonesia? You all have the function of share screen, right? You all can actually share the picture. Oh, really? That's weird. Never mind. You discuss first. Let me go and check about this.
Tadi ngapain sih? Dia nyuruh apa?
Udah selesai.
Oh, udah selesai. Astaga. Langsung aku aja dulu aja. Kocak banget. Iya, dia kayak nanya gitu loh, kayak lu mau nge-share gak gitu tentang Indo
Iya.
gitu sih. Kayak kalau yang gue tangkap ya.
Agak kaget part 2 gitu.
I'm back.
Tiba-tiba disuruh.
Oh, can you try? I mean, is that the sharing function? Can share now? Oh, okay, nice.
Thank you.
Oh, actually,
share
they want
room.
to close
Baju.
the room. I think they want to close the room already. Have you all have anything else to discuss? Oh, this is the one that Jason tell me about nasi padang.
Yes, true too.
Oh, okay, okay. Famous food. Famous one, is it? Very famous. Okay, okay. Good, good. And for Chinese one, in Guizhou, there's a fish. It's a spicy and sour fish in China. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a soup taste. Yeah. So it's very nice also. And I think Malaysia also, we have nasi lemak, which is similar, but I think Indonesian one is very spicy. Yeah, I think in Indonesian one is more spicy. I see the chili is very spicy. Oh, oh. Oh. Oh, but the dish is different. What is the brown
Kayaknya beda
color?
deh, Jo.
What is the brown color one? What is the brown color? This
Coba
one.
lu cari deh
What is that?
nasi lemak.
Apa tuh? What is that?
Potato nggak sih? It's
Oh,
potato.
sweet one? It looks like sweet.
Yes. Oh, no, that's jengkol.
What is that?
Jengkol.
What is it?
Jengkol is the food that from Indonesia that the
Okay. I
taste
think
is
we need to go out already, but it's okay. We can talk
Yeah.
about this. I think we have another 2 sessions.
All right, all participants are back in the main platform, I think. All right. Before we proceed to the lunch break, okay, we will start our lunch break at 12 p.m. Malaysian time. So before we proceed to the lunch break, kindly be reminded that we will start our afternoon session at 1:30 p.m. Malaysian time. Indonesian and Vietnamese time, it will be at 12:30 p.m. Okay, and please be punctual and see you soon for the afternoon session. For the afternoon session, we will have a sharing session from industry